It's time for another edition of Lewis at Large, 60 minutes of smart talk radio featuring guests from all walks of life in conversation with your host, Warner Lewis. So sit back and lend us your ears for the next hour. Now here with today's first guest is the host of Lewis at Large, Warner Lewis.
Welcome, everybody, to another segment of Lewis at Large. Yours truly, Warner Lewis from the flight deck. And, of course, as you know, that means some smart talk radio is in your future. In this segment, very pleased to have with us a talented writer, successful mother, and much more. Her name is Julie Dunlap. She was born and raised in Kansas City, a graduate of Bishop Miege High School and the University of Kansas. But for purposes here, she and a very close friend of hers, Sarah Stotts, have written an incredible musical called Motherhood, and we will talk all about Motherhood. You can probably guess by the title some of the subject matter, but it's a little bit about the angst, I believe, and some of the love and joy of motherhood indeed. Anyway, but we will get into that in depth and also let you hear a piece or two from this musical. Very pleased to have her here. Julie, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, and I'm really, really excited to hear I'm a successful mother. That's great.
That's the word on the street anyway. That's what social media is saying.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that. Put that human biology degree to use there, making humans.
Well, Lawrence is filled with a lot of creative people in the music world, in the fine arts world, and I'm just very curious as to what in your background led you to, a partnership with Sarah, and B, why this particular subject?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I have a degree in human biology, so it wasn't really that, but I had played the piano all my life, and truly going back to sixth grade, anybody who thinks for a moment about pulling the arts out of schools needs to rethink this. In sixth grade, we did a musical, and I played the piano for it. I'm not much of a singer, but I loved it, and it kind of opened my eyes to some experience that I would never have had outside of school, in being able to see a story being told through music, and the teamwork and camaraderie and just kind of the energy of live theater that came with it, even though I was only in sixth grade. And carried that with me, that love of it, through high school, and participated in musicals through high school. In college at KU, Sarah and I met performing and writing for Rock Chalk Review, the all-campus musical variety show that happens every year for the last 60 or 70 years. We met there, and while most of our friends would maybe be out late night partying at the bars, we would do that too, but then we'd leave the bars, head over to the Delta Upsilon house with our friends, and gather around the piano and make up songs about each other until the sun came up. And we carried that little piece of camaraderie and love of music with us through into our adult worlds, where we eventually grew up and got jobs and used our degrees and got married and had kids. And we reconnected probably 6 years ago at Sarah's birthday party. I won't say what number it was, but you can assume it was like number 25 or something. But 6 years ago, we got together at her birthday party, and her husband had hired a band to come play. They're a comedy band called The Listening Zoo, out of Illinois, and they performed songs like Drinking and Dialing, It's Fun to Do as Long as They're Drunk Too, or another one about the rascal fats, the scooters, those rascal scooters going around Disney World and all the other places you see. And I thought for the first time that I'd heard a comedy band and had never really heard that concept before. I started thinking, Sarah and I used to write really funny songs when we were in college, and there's a lot of material in our new lives as moms. I bet we could write a musical about motherhood. And at the time, her youngest child was 1, and by the time we finished and had our first equity production up in Kansas City, my oldest child had graduated from high school a week earlier. So we had kind of, in that writing process, run the gamut of birth through 18 years, and this musical takes 3 women, 3 very, very different women, on their journey, follows them from the time they find out they're pregnant until the time their kids graduate from high school, and has 19 original songs that each one kind of highlights an iconic moment of parenthood, whether you're a mother or a father, or you just remember having a mother or a father and being a kid, highlights each of those moments. So that's how we did it. I called Sarah from the airplane as our plane landed in Kansas City after being up at her birthday party in Chicago, and pitched the idea to her, and she didn't call me for like 2 months. She claimed she was just sobering up from her birthday party, but she was actually writing some music. When she called me, she had a couple songs down, and I did as well, and we started from there.
So we have the inspiration to do this about motherhood, a subject that you both knew very, very well. I'm just curious as to the three people. Were they modeled after either one of you two, people you know, or were they sort of a composite of all kinds of mothers that you know?
They're kind of a composite. So we have Rachel, who is a brand new mom. I mean, she's so excited to finally be a mom like all of her friends. OMG, she used to be kind of a clubbing party girl, and she had a kind of a hard time getting pregnant, so she was really excited. Sarah had some fertility issues, so this in a way was kind of a look at that, just from that perspective of somebody who desperately wanted to be a mother, struggled, and then finally gets to be a mom, and she's so excited and has these visions of just walking right into the baby thing and the pregnancy and delivery going so smoothly and everything just being a dream. She's pretty naive, really, all the way around, and it's fun to watch her grow. Angie is very type A. She's an accountant. Everything falls into a neat, tidy column. She's just got her life under control. She already has a boy. When we meet Angie, she already has a son, and she's about to have a daughter because, she already had a son. So, of course, she's having a girl. And she finds out she's pregnant. She immediately knows, all right on schedule, just like I planned. That is probably modeled after a number of people. A little bit of my type A personality, I guess, and a bit of a couple of friends of ours who we're going to always keep anonymous, but I'm sure they know who they are when they see this. Angie's journey is interesting as well. As a mom, you start out and you think, all right, we're going to limit the screen time to 30 minutes a day. I'm going to read every night. We're going to listen to Bach and Mozart and Beethoven so that they're cultured and well-rounded, and we're only going to eat organic foods, which is so great on paper. But in reality, you get in and you're like, geez, okay, if I'm ever going to take a shower, we're going to have to up the screen time. I am not going to hard boil anymore or boil any more organic carrots and make my own food. I'm buying it off the shelf. You know, the conveniences in life, the reality of living this out get in the way. And for Angie, we kind of take it to the extreme. Angie is so obsessed with keeping track of this perfect life. She ends up cracking a little bit and takes a little bit of Xanax and finds that sometimes life doesn't always go as you'd planned for it to go. And then there's Marcia. Marcia thought she was done having children. Marcia's like 42. She has kids in junior high and high school. And honestly, when Marcia's period was late, she thought she was just going through menopause, booked a ticket to Hawaii, and couldn't wait to go begin her life as a empty nest is just so close. She can see the light at the end of the tunnel. But she finds out she's actually pregnant again. And Marcia was definitely modeled after a few people that we know, a little bit after me. I was a little surprised by our fourth one, though. She came pretty quickly after the other three. So, and she's the best surprise our family's ever had. But yeah, a little bit after some friends that we know. Marcia's very sarcastic and a great balance for Angie, who's very type A. So Marcia's kind of that free spirit that Angie always kind of secretly hoped she could be. And she's experienced enough, with enough relaxation in her, unlike Angie, to be a good guide for Rachel. So these three all meet in their gynecologist's office when they find out they're pregnant and form a friendship slowly along the way.
Well, we just joined us, yours truly, Warner Lewis, from the flight deck of Lewis at Large Radio, talking to a special guest this segment, Julie Dunlap. She's a mom, but she's many other things. And for this discussion, she and co-writer Sarah Stotts have written an extraordinary musical called Motherhood, Maternal Discretion Advised. Julie,
not for the weak. It is not for the weak.
Not for the weak and not weak at heart. Hey, Julie, we've been kind of building this thing up a little bit. Let's share with our Lewis at Large listeners here. Let's share a piece from the musical Motherhood. Give us a sample here, and we'll play it, and then we'll come back and talk.
Okay. Why don't we go to prayer? Do you want to do the whole song? I was told prayer for a late bloomer. So Warner and I just had a discussion about some green light words and red light words and what we're allowed to say on the radio and not allowed to say on the radio. This one might have one red light word in it, but it's a fun song. Angie, who's the very extreme type A mom, she's getting ready to send her baby, little Libby, off to kindergarten. And to kind of set the scene, Angie decides that she is going to take Rachel and Marcia out for a day of yoga, and they are going to learn how to relax, doggone it, and start relaxing right now. And Angie kind of has a little breakdown as they're doing these yoga poses, and truth comes out that Angie was taking Libby out to the juice stop for one last hurrah before school starts, and there were some teenage boys at the juice stop calling the teenage girl behind the counter a slam piece with a hot ass. And she looked down at Libby's little 6-year-old ass and wondered if anyone was ever going to say that about her daughter. And it horrified her. Marcia and Rachel, of course, want to know which juice stop it is so they can go get a little compliment. But Angie says it's not funny, and she kind of ends her little rant by saying, Lord, help me. Well, the lights go out, except for a spotlight down on Angie, and organ music starts, and she looks up, wondering, well, how did I get God to come into this yoga studio? And she begins singing her prayer to God.
Okay, and again, the name of the tune is?
Prayer for a Late Bloomer.
Prayer for a Late Bloomer. Okay, here we go. We'll be back right after you hear it.
Dear Lord, don't make my daughter pretty. Please make her strong and smart and witty. Pretty girls are far too high maintenance for me. So please don't make my daughter too pretty. Dear Father, give my daughter a long, awkward face, braces and glasses just like I was raised. No, a girl like makeup shall grace her sweet face. If you'd give my daughter a long, awkward face, grant her the wisdom to lose some and win some, lead her not to obsess over every last hair. Let her stray far from fashion like Kim Kardashian. No stripper boots glitter or push-up she'll wear. Sweet Jesus, keep her cleavage inside of her shirt. Help boys make eye contact whenever they flirt. May no one be able to see up her skirt. Sweet Jesus, keep her cleavage inside of her shirt. There's plenty of time to be a 10, 9, or 8. But for now, just let my daughter bloom late. Oh, and God, while you're at it, please God, keep my son from becoming an asshole. Lead him not to bully, abuse, or hassle. Don't give him an ego or a head that's too full. Oh God, keep my son from becoming an asshole. From heaven above, grant him courage and class. But please, don't make my son be an ass. Amen.
Okay, there's Prayer for a Late Bloomer. Julie, when you hear those, you think back probably of when you and Sarah were writing it, or you all were writing it individually and then started collaborating. I'm just curious as to, when you hear them, do you ever think there's something I might change, or you're really pretty pleased with all these finished products now that you look back on it?
Oh, my gosh, you sound like my husband. He's always asking me, are you guys done writing this yet? So we've had 4 or 5 different runs of the show, and every time we find something we want to tweak and change. So, for instance, the song you just heard, when Angie comes belting out with, Dear God, keep my son from becoming a a-hole, we actually now have a choir, a full gospel choir that comes out and backs her on that. So she'll sing a hole, and they come out with an echoing that asshole, and continue to sing little quips here and there. So each one gets a little bit of a change, and also updated too. When we first started this, we've had a song about Facebook that has now evolved into a midlife crisis song, and involves all sorts of social media. And the gist of that is that Rachel's kind of feeling her age, and so she reaches out to stalk her old boyfriends on Facebook, which really, who hasn't done that before? But we had to update that to include Instagram and Snapchat and all the other things that have come up in the last few years since we started writing the show. And always, it's fun. Every cast that we've had seems to add a little twist to it that we've been able to incorporate and make turn it into our own in the show.
All right. Well, Julie, let's talk about just the practical matter of you have two writers. You have some songs sort of in the can, so to speak, or at least they've been written. They're on paper. Yep. Talk to us and share with us a little bit about the recording of these songs and the production of these songs. Where did you go to get talent, not only the instrumental talent, but also the vocal talent? And then tell us a little bit about the journey to get this thing actually produced and on a stage.
Wow. Okay. So Sarah lives in Wilmette, Illinois, right outside of Chicago, and I live in Lawrence. So when we first started writing, we each had a couple of themes and ideas and songs that we'd take on, and within a couple of months of that, we decided to get together in Lawrence and just sit down and really, we actually holed up at the Eldridge Hotel for a couple of nights, and lugged in guitars and an electronic keyboard, and we knocked out a few more songs and started trying to hammer out the characters themselves, who they would be, and assigned each other, okay, well, you take on this song about hormones and periods and masturbation in children or teenagers, and I'm going to take the song about giving birth, and reworking that. So we'd brainstormed our ideas and then went back to our respective homes and continued to write, and then would record ourselves and post videos to a private YouTube channel that we shared. So we could see each other singing and playing these songs back and forth, and give input on, okay, well, that's great, let's change this around, or can you put a harmony here, or let's move this verse over, or we already rhymed heinous and anus, let's change that up a little bit. So we could work it that way. And then we got together probably every 9 months or so and would write, sitting in the same room writing a lot more is a lot easier than trying to send it back and forth, of course. So we'd get together and write. And then after a couple of years of writing, we got to put it up at the Lawrence Art Center. Rick Averill very kindly said, yeah, let's do a stage reading, and it sold out in like a week. We had 300 people there that watched a stage reading. Rick helped me cast it with a really talented cast from Lawrence, and Sarah got to play the part of Marcia. She is absolutely fabulous as well, and I directed it. It went really well, so we had a full production of the show about 6 months later, and that went really well, and that's when we had to kind of get out of our little Lawrence, Kansas safety net and start branching out. If we wanted other people to see this show, we needed to hit other cities. So we lucked into a producer in Kansas City who, again, guided us through a stage reading and a full equity 3-weekend-long production in Kansas City. And we are now looking for a producer in the Chicago area or elsewhere in the country, and meeting with several producers who are giving us kind of tips and guidelines. And at this point, we have to decide, well, do we want to do another stage reading in Chicago and then jump it to a larger stage? Do we want to go balls to the wall and do something big and make a splash and take a gamble like that? And we're actually in process on that. And if any of your listeners are interested in helping with that, have them call me.
That will do. I'm just curious because, again, on the inside of producing a play, is there any sense to go to somewhere, a market like Kansas City, which is maybe the 25th to 30th largest market in the country, and just doing a longer running production there, maybe to get kinks worked out, or that's something you've already investigated?
Well, the production that we did there was a 3-weekend one last summer, and we would definitely consider going back there again to do it it would be good to see it in another market. We've looked at Des Moines and Chicago and Philadelphia, Reno, Nevada, Dallas, and Los Angeles. And of course, we'd love to go to New York, but it's kind of a suburban mom show. I don't know. We'll see how that works out there.
Yeah.
But we are, and festivals as well. That's another place that we can do this show. We're just now starting to get into sending it out to various musical festivals. But we're learning as we go. There are probably just as many avenues for producing a show as there are live stage shows out there. It's really mind-blowing how many different ways there are to make a show happen. The stage readings are great because you can kind of work out, especially the timing of jokes, and make a note, where did the audience laugh, where did they not laugh. Sometimes things that we found are really funny on paper. For instance, there was a line at one point about Angie's having her breakdown at the yoga class, and one of her friends says, "Angie, you're over-zenning." When you see that word written on paper, it's quite funny, but when you hear it live on stage, it just doesn't have the impact.
Right.
So we've made some changes like that. Likewise, there are things on paper that you look at and think, well, I think this could go, and then the actor throws in just that one little quirk or funny accent to it, or physical comedy to it, and it's just the most hysterical thing you've ever seen.
Well, let's do this. We want to sneak another song in here if we can, to give people even a better taste. Again, we're with Julie Dunlap, and Julie is the co-producer of a new well, it's not actually, at this point, it's not new, but it's been out for a while, but still kind of gaining some of its sea legs here a little bit, and an exciting show called Motherhood. Julie, give us song number 2 here that our listeners can enjoy.
Okay. Let's stick with Angie's journey with Libby. So now Act 2 opens with the three moms wondering, has anyone seen my baby? Because someone took my beautiful baby and left me a teenager instead. Second act is all about raising teenagers. So now at this point, Angie has survived grade school. She's pretty certain people are calling her daughter a slam piece with a hot ass, and she's just kind of owning it. But she's not quite ready to let her daughter grow up all the way. She finds herself on prom night, wondering what Libby's date's intentions are. Now, on stage, you can't catch this in the song. On stage, what you see is this young man. We do have, in addition to the three moms, there's a male supporting character and a female supporting character who play a variety of characters within the show. So our young man comes out. He is just as nice as can be. He's like president of the math club. He's a geography whiz. He has 3 older brothers, and that's probably the part that concerns Angie the most. And she's certain that this very nice kid, who probably isn't going to get to second base for a very long time, is actually out to deflower her daughter. So Angie opens this song by saying, as the doorbell rings, I only have one question for this kid on prom night, and we're gonna hear the song Prom Night.
All right, here is Prom Night from Motherhood.
Do you want my doctor? I just want to know up front. Should my husband get the shotgun? I don't mean to be blunt. Do I set the GPS tracker on her new fancy phone? Do I really have to worry about leaving you too alone? 'Cause if you want to my daughter, cookies? It's just that she's not ready to handle all the stress. Prom night is so important. Oh, where's my Xanax? She's still my little girl, even though she's 18. I just want to protect her. Do you know what I mean? So if you want to my daughter, I will you up. So
Okay, that was Prom Night, Julie. Gosh, we could talk about this for a long time. By the way, very, very well done.
Thank you.
We are unfortunately rapidly running out of time here, but again, we've been with Julie Dunlap, co-producer of a extraordinary musical called Motherhood that has been seen by some and hopefully will be seen by many in the near future. Julie, how can people that listen to this show find out a little bit more about the work that you've done and also find out a little bit more about the musical itself?
We have a website, www.motherfreakinghood.com, that can tell you more about the show. There's a blog in there written by the characters, so you can get to know a little bit more about each of these women. And along with that, the reviews from the shows that we've had in the past, too, that are fun to read. Along with that, we have a YouTube channel. While we aren't able to post due to equity rules, the actual runs that we've had in Kansas City, we do have some other pieces on our YouTube channel, Mother Freaking Hood, on YouTube, including Move the Line, a carpool pickup song that Sarah and I wrote this summer and produced a music video for. And you had asked about musicians. Danny Schaefer in Chicago area is our music god. He produces all of our demo tracks that we have. He's absolutely fantastic. So he produced Move the Line for us. We have a couple more up there. The Bleacher Ass Blues, any mom or dad can relate to, who's sat at one too many soccer, volleyball, concert, all the different things that find your ass on a bleacher, and a few other tunes from the show as well. Yeah.
Well, we are very, very excited to see this thing come to fruition, and we will definitely be checking back with you for an update, and appreciate your time and sharing a couple of songs with us today, and best of luck with this thing.
Thank you so much. Like us on Facebook as well. Forgot to say that. Facebook, of course, Mother Freaking Hood there.
That we will do.
All right. Thanks, Warner.
You bet. We will be back with more